just a note about a web page versus a website, and these are slightly different. Although people use these interchangeably. A website is actually usually a collection of different web pages. So when we were talking about the WebQuest last week, the WebQuest is a website because you have a lot of different pages within there, but the introduction page, the task page, the process page, those are all different web pages. So some teachers use a classroom blog for similar types of purposes, like a website. Sometimes teachers use wikis. So these are all very similar. It's trying to get information out to your students. In W200, one of the big projects in this class is actually creating a teacher website, and we add to this throughout the semester, so it's not like you having to do one by yourself, but it's incremental. So like last week it was by putting up Pixton or Chatterpix, and this past week it was creating a Powtoon open house for your teacher website, and this week we're going to be doing a newsletter, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But as a teacher, really, why do you need a website, and why do you think that this is important? And I want you to think about, how did your teachers communicate with you? Did they just give announcements at the end? Did they communicate through a classroom management system? Like some people have Canvas, like what we have, or they have My Big Campus, or Moodle, or Edmodo. There are a lot of different options here for communicating. Blogs, Facebook, or even just like paper newsletters. So really think about what is the best way to communicate with your future students and with your future parents, because parents and students might be slightly different the way in which you communicate and collaborate. Here's one example of a teacher, a kindergarten teacher, and she really talks about why blogging is so critically important to her as a professional. So let's watch her video.
My name is Michelle Ayala, and I work at Dr. Rodriguez Elementary as a kinder teacher. Well, I love to browse on the web for resources, any games, any free printables. I like to look at all the free resources that are out there for teachers. And I kept coming across this one blog over and over and over again. And so then I started looking for her every week. It was a What the Teacher Wants blog. And that's how it started. Just a snowball occurred. And then I thought, this would be so cool to have one for my own class, my classroom blog. And that's how it started.
When I asked my son what he did, he just tells me I went to go eat lunch, I went to the gym. On that website, I actually see their what they're doing in class, the activities they're doing, the activities they did when they go on their field trips, little paragraphs on what they're doing this week and stuff like that. I mean, it's actually informed me more on what he's actually doing here in the school. My name is Joe Sanchez. My son Angel Sanchez is in kindergarten right now in the Miss Ayala's class. Basically, she's the one that's actually teaching my son to do everything, whether it be learning how to write, math, color, shapes, everything. So she's a big part of his life right now. Of course, we do help him at home with his homework and everything, but like I said, she has him 8 hours a day, so she's a big part of his life, and she teaches him a lot. She's doing a real good job right now.
I've noticed with the blog, collaboration has taken a whole new level, because not only through the blog are we able to collaborate together and, oh, look at this, and can you share this, and take a look at this, but also I can say there's a teacher in New York City who has a blog, and she has this awesome idea with the letter A that's coming up. You should check it out. And so I'll send the whole school that link, and maybe somebody can use some of those resources.
My assistant principal and I, Mrs. David, we go to TEPSA, the Elementary Principals Conference, every year during the summer. And one of the sessions that we sat in was on blogging, and it was on teacher blogs. And Christy and I went, and we thought it was such a great idea. And we came back to campus, and we had all this literature that we were going to present to the teachers. Well, before we'd even had a chance to talk to the teachers about it, Michelle Ayala had approached me, and she said, I really want to start a blog, because I had been I have a friend that teaches at a kindergarten school on the East Coast. She used to teach here in Harlingen, and she moved. And it's an international kindergarten, and it's a really fabulous school, and they do some really neat, innovative things. And she's always, my friend from the East Coast is always sending me neat stuff that she does with her kindergarten class. So I was sharing that with my staff, showing them some of the innovative things that this school on the East Coast was doing. Well, Michelle had picked up on the blog that my friend Heather was doing and really thought it was neat, and she had been thinking about it. She just hadn't really ever seen one, or seen one that she really liked, or one that was really geared toward kinder. So when she saw that, she came to me and she said, I saw what you had sent me, and it's neat, and I really want to do it. Can I? And I said, oh, absolutely. I said, actually, I wanted the whole staff to eventually, but I think you'd be a great jumping off point. So go for it. And then when you feel comfortable, let's share it with the staff. Let's let the other teachers know. And you can share, what was difficult, what was easy, what the feedback's been like. And then we can encourage our other teachers to do the same.
There's so many blogs out there that are all educational, not opinionated. It's all about resources, what's happening in the classroom, different ideas that are coming up, different themes, different lessons that any other teacher might use. So I gear it more towards fellow teachers around the world and also parents who want to keep up to date with the class.
So this is a really great example of, even at lower grade levels, how it can be advantageous. It's a great idea for reflecting at the end of the day. So that would be something that I would encourage, at the end of the day. Younger students can even sit around the rug and say, okay, what did we learn today? What did we kind of go over? That's a great way to reflect, and it's a great way to keep your parents involved, because one of the things that is very prevalent in research is that parent involvement means higher achievement for your students. I wanted to share this too, because principals' expectations of you. This was a national study with over 60,000 responses from principals. And when principals were asked, what do you expect teachers to do? Well, they expected teachers to be able to use technology for these various circumstances. So 70% of the principals out there, and this is K through 12, expect teachers to be able to communicate with parents and students using technology. 69% say that they need to create and use multimedia. 63% facilitate student collaborations. So there's a lot of different elements here that principals are expecting teachers to definitely be able to use technology for these particular purposes. So what's the real benefit of keeping a teacher website? Well, first, efficiency. A teacher website can help you gain teaching time. So when hyperlinks are on that page that are connected to high quality resources, your students can become quickly used to getting to the classroom page and moving on to those resources. So there won't be the days when you say, okay, everybody go to, HTTP, blah, blah. So you don't have to go through all of that. It's one of the advantages of our Symbaloo that we have embedded on our teacher website as well. So that's particularly great for younger students to say, okay, here, click on the caterpillar or click on the globe here. So that's one really great way to help with the efficiency of getting your students to resources. The next link is the resources. So they actually gain access to more curriculum resources because you've placed those hyperlinks to relevant resources on a classroom web page. And so it's not just you doing it, but also they can do it at home too. So this is a great way for you to say, here are the resources that I think are fantastic and I want you to explore. For relevance, so students will come to see the internet as more relevant extension of school. Because the internet is already such an extension of so much of their non-school life, failing to establish a classroom component on the web can marginalize the perceived importance of school. The connection. So students come to see their teachers as connected. And let's face it, if you're not online today, it's oftentimes not perceived as being relevant. So just look at it from a business or an entertainment type of effort. Like PBS, for example, creates web content concurrently with television content. So the internet is that important for public broadcasting. The next is access. So through the inclusion of an email address, a contact form, or another communication tool, the students and their families can gain extended access to their teachers. Now, sometimes this seems a little bit overwhelming, but you can do things like remind or email and check it at your leisure. It doesn't have to be right away. But the teacher is the most valuable resource in a classroom, so it only makes sense to provide greater access to that teacher. And then finally, experience. So students will gain experience using digital resources and direct supportive learning. This will be a 21st century life skill, as virtually all professions now have online learning tools to support their services to employees, and college and universities are constantly ramping up their use of digital tools to support students in a myriad of ways. So these are things to really think about when we're thinking about the benefit of a teacher website and how you can use it in your own classroom. So web design. Web design is another thing just to keep in the back of your mind when you're designing one of these things, because it often can become so many links and so many animated things that it becomes overwhelming, and you really have to keep in mind the colors and the text styles that you use too, and what is really usable. So when we're talking about design and making, design means like to make your own brand as a professional teacher. So there should be a consistency about it. There should be contrast to distinguish between like the text and the background elements. Spacing is really important. The biggest thing that you can do as a teacher is make sure you don't have any broken links. That can really come across as unprofessional. The other things that you may want to do too is provide clear and simple headlines and page titles. That should be important. Avoid page elements that move constantly or sounds that play automatically. This can be one of the most annoying things, I think, when you go to different websites. Minimizing scrolling as much as possible, especially with mobile devices being more and more prevalent. That would be important. Avoid over busy or multicolored backgrounds. Leaving more white space will actually make it more readable. Limit your animations and use the same font throughout. Stick to universal fonts too, that will help. And maintain the site and update it regularly. This is again another important thing. So on the following slide we have some different examples of website designs, and I want you to kind of consider which ones are good designs and why, and which ones aren't good designs and why, and what are design elements you should consider when designing a website. So I'm going to provide the links here for you, and you can go ahead and explore them. I'll go to the, I'm actually going to go to the ones that we brought up in our homework assignment for this week. And so, for example, this one here is Miss Paul's Math Classroom. And it really obviously doesn't have a lot of great flash to it. It's very simple, but it has all of her information kind of lined up here. Everything is linked. And everything is worked very, very well with video and homework, and it has actually progressing throughout the semester, along with answer keys, and everything is color-coded so you know which one is homework, the purple, which one is video, the red. So it's very clear in terms of which ones, and then she also has additional assignments at the bottom. So these are all helpful things. I don't know that it's the best design, but it is at least clear and straightforward. This is another one that looks very professional and nice. And then when you come in, you have like the absence, what was going on. So this is more like a blog where it's just updating, and it has various videos and links. Again, somewhat organized based on the date, so they should be easy enough for you to scroll through. This was another one. This was a 5th grade classroom, and it has all of the classroom connections on the one side. It has a little bit of like dancing annoyance and things going around, but not too bad. It has links for parents and teachers so that you can see who the different people are. It even has newscasts or awesome teacher websites around the world that you can go and visit other teacher websites. So maybe you want to click around and explore these ones. Speaking of which, this kind of design, it's not really my style. It's got a lot of kind of busy work on the background. But it does have some great resources in there, so that's something else to explore. This is a kindergarten classroom teacher, and this is more like a blog, but she has her classroom, and so you can go through her classroom and kind of see the different information, like how she runs her station. So if you're a parent, you know what to kind of expect when they do their stations and where the student work will go. So that's another great way to kind of keep track of what's going on in design. And then this one I think is probably the most professional looking. So it's got molecular biology, it's got tutorials, links, and additional buttons. So this one was created with Weebly. The other ones we've been creating with Google Sites. So those are 2 free websites that you can use in order to develop your own websites. So maybe when you do your instructional project website, you want to try using Weebly instead of Google Sites. That would be a good opportunity for you to expand your horizons. So again, go through these professional websites, and we'll have you post in the, we'll have you answer a question about this later.